On today's episode of Wheelhouse Garage, I've got a super fun project. I'm going to be putting a totally self-contained lighting system on this 1957 Triumph Desert Sled. Now the reason I need to do that is because, like most period correct desert sleds, this bike has a Lucas competition magneto and no generator on it. The generator weighs a ton. You don't need it if you're off-road racing, so it's not on here. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I have a long distance ride coming up, and there is going to be a couple little road sections, not too long, but I just felt like it was the right thing to do my due diligence, get a headlight and tail light on this thing for the short road sections that I do have to do. The cool thing is, as long as this works, I've been able to put together a parts list that's pretty darn cheap, under 60 bucks. I'm using some stuff that I had on the shelf too, so there's that, but the parts to actually make it work, the guts of it, are really cheap. So let me show you what we're going to use to make this happen. Alright, so here's all the ingredients we're going to be cooking with today. I'll start by pointing out the new stuff that I bought for this setup. The first of which is this lithium-ion rechargeable battery. You charge it by plugging it into a wall socket, and it's got this nice quick disconnect system, so if we want to, we can easily pull it off the bike. Next up, we have these little plug adapters. Now these are made to support 1157 style bulbs, which is a very common bulb type on almost anything vintage, and they have these little tabs here with holes in them, so you can basically mount them to anything. We're going to be using that to retrofit this vintage headlight. One of the keys of this system is these LED bulbs, which again are 1157 style from here, so you could literally plug and play these into most vintage lighting systems. But these are LED style, so they have a much lower draw than a traditional bulb. We need that because this is not going to be recharged while it's on the bike. So the less draw we can have, the longer this is going to last to get us through that road section, or in a night emergency, it'll give us a few hours to get out of the situation with some lighting. So this is an old headlight that came off of an old project. I like the style of it. It's got this little hood here, which is cool, and some neat, just a neat vibe to it. So we're going to be using that. I also like that it's kind of smaller. This is an old Bates style. I'm not sure if it's actually a Bates product, but it's a Bates style headlight mount, and these slots will match up perfectly with the pinch bolts on the forks of this Triumph. This is another kind of Bates style vintage piece that I had laying around. This is a license plate holder and taillight holder. I did also have this on the shelf. This is a copy. This is a reproduction British taillight, but I mean, if you don't have this, you can snag one of these for 16 bucks, I think, on eBay. Or you could use a different style. You could retrofit what's currently on your bike, or maybe you've got a different style British setup that you could throw on. Heck, maybe you got an old car taillight that you could put on there. But we're going to be using the exact same bulb in the back, which should just plug right into that. So those are the pieces that we're going to be using. We're going to have to be doing some modifications on the older parts. So let's get into doing that. I got started with the headlight because I knew it would need the most modification. We need to retrofit it to an 1157 style bulb so we can use the same bulb on the front and the back. The new bulb housing was a little bit wider than the old bulb housing, so I had to open it up a bit. Now it fits nicely. I started adding the fasteners and was able to utilize an existing hole on one side and had to drill out the other. The next thing I had to do was drill a hole for the toggle switch. This little headlight already had a dent, so I figured that'd be a good spot to put it. I had a little freak out moment here, wondering if the toggle switch was actually going to fit in this smaller style headlight.
but luckily it does. This seemed like a good opportunity to test the light, so I rigged up some temporary wiring. Woohoo! After that, I started reassembly and attached the wiring. I thought it'd be cool to use the wiring from an old Triumph harness that I had laying around. So you can see here that I've got old British wires attached to the new part with some butt connectors. I've heard it more than once that it's generally better to use wire connectors like this over soldering for motorcycle use, and I think that has to do with corrosion resistance and also vibration resistance. I think I like it. Onto the taillight. I need to cut out a little notch on the front and back of this piece because the fender is ribbed.
Rib for her pleasure. Ew.
Nice easy swap out there. But then I realized that the bolt pattern was a little bit different. It's a reproduction part, so not a huge surprise. Out came the file. Back in business. I decided I wanted to put the battery right here. There was a little threaded hole in the frame which gave me a nice idea for a simple little bracket out of a little piece of aluminum I had sitting in the corner. Just a couple little things to do left as far as fabrication, and then this taillight gets to go on, and then I can start wiring. I love putting heat shrink on these wires. To make the wiring section that runs along the motor a little bit tougher, I added this asphalt coated wire loom.
I'm super stoked how the electrical turned out. All the little fabrication stuff we had to do went just fine. I'm really happy with it. It's time to turn on these lights and see how they look. You ready? 3, 2, 1. I'm super stoked. It's really cool stuff. I'm gonna put a link in the description for all these parts I used in case you want to copy the same system. The next big question is how long will these lights last on a full battery charge? So I'm gonna charge this thing up and leave the lights on with a timer, and I'll follow up with a YouTube short, let you guys know how long it lasts. I'm stoked to see. Folks, other than that, I'm gonna call it a day. I think I've earned one of these cold ones. This is a Lagunitas Hazy Wonder IPA. Oh man, and it tastes real good. Super fun, folks. I'll see you next week. My buddy Alan is bringing out some really cool bikes that I'm gonna be showcasing, so stoked on that. Thank you so much for joining. Don't forget, you can buy a t-shirt on the website, wheelhousegarage.co. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you next Saturday with a whole new video. Cheers!